What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be talking about the Bitcoin price chart as we head into the weekend here. We'll pull up the Ethereum price chart as well and talk about the altcoin market. Also, this week has been littered with a lot of news in the crypto market, so we'll kind of go through some of that stuff too. And I'll kind of show you the things that I'm looking at throughout the weekend here for the crypto market. As really, it's been another net positive week here in crypto. We saw Bitcoin hit as high as 24,200. And even throughout the evening, we saw Ethereum reach back up into the 1600s again. And we're sitting at 1609 as I record at this exact moment. But this week was really marked with the range breakout here for Bitcoin that it has been stuck underneath for over a month. Little under 48 hours ago, we got the announcement that Tesla has sold 75% of their Bitcoin. We saw prices pull back. We can see where we're at right now as we pulled back and we've bounced. Well, we've just kind of gone into a retracement bounce in here for Bitcoin. It's done about a 702 Fibonacci retracement from the announcement of Tesla. Now the question is, how will prices react here after this retracement? Will it be able to work its way through and keep on going? Or is there more consolidation to happen here for Bitcoin? Yesterday, I kind of outlined the things that would kind of start getting me a little bit worried about the Bitcoin price chart, especially if we kind of fell back down in here. So like this was kind of a breakout level. This is how we got out of here. If we started falling back down to about 21,000, it'd start getting a little bit worrying about it being an actual breakout, because there's a couple of things on here on this chart that we can look at that you could see are still all good right now, even with the kind of volatile action that happened yesterday in Bitcoin. One is that it still is holding above the 50-day moving average. And at the same time, we can see that it's holding above the 200-week moving average. So at this exact point, finally, we're back above the 200-week moving average and at the same time back above the 50-day moving average. So these are great things to see happening right now. Well, what would happen if we started seeing prices fall back down under here? It starts to get kind of, not bottomy, if that's even a word, or at least it looks a lot less like a reversal happening in here. But right now, currently, right, these things look good, right? We can see we're back above the 200-week moving average, put us back on this, right? So that's what you'd look like on the weekly time frame with the current weekly candle, which we know that Ethereum was able to reclaim last week and then continue further this week. So with Bitcoin currently there right now, maintaining these levels right here, right now seems pretty important. So far, so good. And today looks just fine with Bitcoin at 23,700. Otherwise, I would say on the Bitcoin price chart, this was probably the most monumental thing that ended up happening this week. Not only did we get range breakout happening in here, took out all of these little resistances back in here. We're finding support on them right now. And then we're also finding support here on the 50-day moving average and the 200-week moving average. That's the most optimistic thing to happen for this week. We still have 2 days left until the weekly candle closes. So we would like to see these continue to be maintained for some confirmation that we got it. As for Ethereum, we were taking a look at the Ethereum price chart in yesterday's video showing that, hey, it's looking awfully similar to what bottomings can look like in here, and that, ranging would happen in here. I think the price of Ethereum yesterday as I was recording was back in the higher 1400s, maybe lower 1500s as I was recording. As we can see, structure continues. It goes up and sets a new little high over here. We got that new little high. What would you expect if this is to continue? More ranging, which would mean it goes right back down into the higher 1400s once again and continues to range in here. We'll see if it continues following exactly like that. Typically, things don't follow precisely, but if it did follow precisely, what would you expect? You wouldn't expect a breakout to happen from right here. You would actually expect more consolidation. And then finally, it could end up going. But we could see how it's looking right now. You can see what Bitcoin was looking like back at that time, how it was working underneath that breakdown region before it was able to actually get out of it. And that's what we're seeing happening over here for Ethereum and for the altcoin market cap at this exact time. So still working underneath. Looking to see if we can get ourselves a breakout, and hopefully we get that at some point throughout the weekend. And from a time perspective, if you look at how long Ethereum has been in here now, we've been in here for about 3 or 4 days. So just if you kind of use your visuals and say, hey, if it comes back down here, works it out, and then it gets up here, where does that get us to? It gets us to like the 25th or the 26th. Well, what is tomorrow? The 23rd, 24th, 25th would be on Monday, right? So kind of makes sense. Maybe we get our weekly candle close where Bitcoin closes above its 200-week moving average. That's confirmation for excitement. And then finally we can break out on that moment. But just looking at the ranging, it would look like ranging would continue throughout the weekend, and that would be totally normal on this structure. But of course, the big question is what happens with the remainder of the altcoin market during that time? It's my big question too, to see how the altcoin market responds to any type of breakout in Bitcoin, breakout in Ethereum that goes into a bigger retracement to happen in here. And if we're even getting that big retracement right now, the altcoin market once again continues another green week this week, continuing that bounce off of the 200-week moving average. And we could see in there even a more convincing break through that 50-day moving average here for the altcoin market collectively compared to both Bitcoin. I guess Ethereum got a pretty good break, but Bitcoin especially not as much. But we could see it over here in the altcoin market, a more convincing break of that moving average. One of the things we've talked about a lot, if we can get our way up in here, we can afford to have more consolidation happening here. And I'll point to more structures next week to point to that, but still want to see some more juice get us back up into those areas from where we fell to when the Luna and UST stuff happened. If we can regain all of the Three Arrows capital and all that. But hopefully we've moved on from that, right? We were talking a couple of weeks ago how Sam Bankman-Fried, CEO of FTX, had said it seemed like most of the contagion was behind us and that he didn't see any reason for why the bottom couldn't be in when it came to things like forced liquidations, mass forced liquidations like we've already seen. So it's been nice to see that we have been able to rally off that. And really there hasn't been any massive contagion that has shown up in the last couple of weeks after such a dramatic time. And what do you know? USDT or Tether gets itself back to $1 here at this exact same time too. After being depegged or losing its peg for over 75 days, finally we're getting right back to here. Still kind of sitting tight, right? Seeing if it's actually maintaining this peg or not. But for the first time, we're actually hitting back on it. So this week in general had a lot of positive things for it. We've got Bitcoin poking back above the 200-week moving average. We've got it poking through the 50-day moving average. We have the same thing happening for Ethereum with even more conviction over there in Ethereum. And then the altcoin market bouncing off of that 200-week moving average and convincingly breaking through the 50-day moving average. So a lot of positive stuff happening here in the market, and then stack on top of it, no additional contagion showing up this week, and USDT getting back to $1. Awesome week. But if we look to the structure of how these things have played out for Ethereum, like at the end of last week, it was talking about, hey, I'm going to be on vacation for a few days. I'm going to be traveling. If we can get a convincing breakthrough 1300, that's going to be great. Well, hey, continuing on talking about that exact same structure, here we are 1 week later. We got through the 1300. Now we're showing up in here. It seems like consolidation is the most likely thing to occur here as it's trying to work back through that broken resistance to see if we're going to get through it or not. As long as it can keep itself range bound in here, all things look good. But if we see something happen where Bitcoin falls all the way back to like 21,000 or 20,500, we know that things start getting sketchy again because then we start losing all of these once again. So into the weekend, looking for consolidation or, of course, more breakouts to the upside. Moving over to the stock market, it should be no surprise. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also broke out above its 50-day moving average 4 days ago. How long ago was it that Bitcoin broke above its 50-day moving average? 4 days ago. So still following along here with the stock market at this point. Things that are interesting about the Dow, if you just kind of look at it structurally on how this thing has played out over the course of the last couple months and like look at RSI that has happened in here, is that we've gotten ourselves back down here to near the 200-week moving average, as we've seen with Ethereum, we've seen with Bitcoin, we've seen with the altcoin market cap. Everything's down there at like its 200-week moving average is the zone collectively for the whole market. But you could see here, this was the first time we didn't set a new low in here. We can kind of look down here at the RSI of how this was behaving in here, is that notice that every time it kind of pops up, it just rolls right back over, pops up, rolls right over, has a nice green week, but then rolls itself back over, just kind of marching that RSI back down. But then we suddenly had a bullish divergence emerge in here in which it was a rising RSI happening here, or a relative strength index that happened between these 2 points in here where prices went down, but sellers were getting weaker. Notice we had our big green week, like we kind of consistently seem to have had in each of these moments as we pop our way back up. Then what happens is prices roll over, and prices attempt to roll over in here. But what ends up happening? That RSI just wasn't able to dip down during this one right in here. And we had our higher low happen in here. And for the first time after dipping, look at this, we're now setting a higher high in relation to back over here. So this is kind of the first time we're seeing this emerge over here in the stock market at this point. And we can definitely see changes emerging in the relative strength index during this time right now, while we're still maintaining above that 200-week moving average. So those are optimistic signs, but still for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the main thing I'm keeping my eye on is one, maintaining that 200-week moving average in there and maintaining on top of those February highs before the massive wipeout that happened there from the C19 sell-off in March of 2020. So want to see these levels continue to hold and continue to see the 200-week moving average. Just from my macro perspective of markets that we can go into recovery, we start seeing this thing diving down below here. Things start getting really sketchy just from like a stock market bubble pop perspective. But we're not there right now. And as we could see, things are changing here in the relative strength happening in here as we weren't able to set a new lower low. We set a higher low in here. And for the first time, we're bouncing out, in which we could see in here on every week that we would get kind of one big green week and then it'd roll over. One big green week, it'd roll over. There's our one big green week. It tried to roll over. It wasn't able to do it. And now here we go. We're moving back to the upside. So optimistic things happening here in the stock market. No surprise, we get through the 50-day moving average at the same time as Bitcoin. So as for the big picture of the charts, those are the things that I'm seeing over there in the stock market. And over here on Bitcoin, as we go throughout the weekend, I'll be looking for these things to hold. The 200-week moving average coming in here and the 50-day moving average coming in here, which we're above right now. It would just be nice to see some follow through or at least continue consolidation and to not lose both of these. Same goes for Ethereum, looking for consolidation to continue in here. If we can see both of these assets show some strength, I would presume and guess that it would translate into the rest of the market at the same time. But these are kind of the two big ones to be keeping my focus on right now. Ethereum, keep consolidating or breakout. Bitcoin, maintain that 50-day and maintain that 200-week, which for reference of where those two sit at this exact moment, at about 22,700 seems to be kind of the colliding point of both of them happening at this moment right now for the 50-day and the 200-week, 22,700. The big news items this week, of course, were that Tesla sold 75% of their Bitcoin. Me personally, I'm fine with it. Always found it suspicious of the timing that they announced it and kind of brought in the retail euphoria and retail laser eyes and diamond hands at the time that they did. Price wasn't able to go much higher once Tesla made their announcement. Now they're out, or at least mostly out. I don't really read too much into it, except that, hey, maybe, just maybe, they're marking the bottom just like they marked the top. Coinbase got themselves in some hot water this week. Here we go, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Today, we announced insider trading charges against a former Coinbase product manager, his brother, and his friend for perpetuating a scheme to trade ahead of multiple announcements regarding certain crypto assets that would be made available for trading on the Coinbase platform. Essentially, a product manager over there at Coinbase knew what coins were going to be getting listed, and the day before bought like $1 million worth of those assets before the announcement was made by Coinbase. Of course, prices pumped. He benefited. And in this filing, the SEC names 9 coins as securities: AMP, RLY, DDX, XYO, RGT, LCX, Power, DFX, and KROM. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, chimed in and says, at Coinbase, we actively monitor for illegal activity and investigate any alleged misconduct. In April, we received information about possible front-running of assets shortly before being listed on Coinbase. We immediately launched an investigation into this. As a result of our investigation, we identified 3 suspects and provided this information to law enforcement. One person was a Coinbase employee who we terminated. Today, the Department of Justice has criminally charged this former employee and 2 other individuals for this abusive conduct. I want to thank our legal, security, special investigations, and global intelligence teams for their quick action and work on this. We appreciate the Department of Justice's recognition of our help in holding these individuals accountable. This is a great reminder for everyone in crypto and at Coinbase that front-running is illegal and erodes trust. We will investigate and refer bad actors to law enforcement, and they will face real legal consequences, including serving prison time. So I guess this is the first time someone has ever been charged in cryptocurrency insider trading. And I'm quite sure Coinbase is probably on top of it from here on out. Moving back over to the SEC, Jeremy Kauffman from Library. If you don't know, they've been battling with the SEC as well, and they're nearing the end of their case. He posted over here on Twitter, "We're free. Judge was skeptical of many SEC claims. SEC was forced to admit that substantial use of LBRY was non-speculative," meaning that there was utility in using library credits or the library token. There's a ruling in 4 to 8 weeks on summary judgment. Trial seems unlikely, and it's highly speculated that whatever the outcome is over here on library, will be utilized in the Ripple versus SEC case. So it looks like we'll be getting a ruling from the judge within the next 4 to 8 weeks on how this will go right here. And whatever the precedent is set in here will probably be used over in the Ripple and SEC case as well. Moving on to other random news that's kind of light, tight, and bright. Some of you may know this, but I actually am a collector of animation production cells. I haven't bought any in several years, but I've got a pretty decent collection of them. So back in the day, back in like the 80s and the 90s, when they would make cartoons, it would be printed on this clear sheet, and they would do like a picture. They'd take a picture, then change the frame, take another picture, take the frame, and then you'd connect all of these pictures together and you would end up getting your cartoon. Now they do it all on computers, but back in the day, they would have to do all of this on these production cells. So over the years, I've collected several of these, and I've got them hanging in one of our offices. And you can see down here, I've got Doug, I've got Rocko's Modern Life, Beavis and Butthead, The Simpsons, King of the Hill. And I'm pretty proud of this. I've collected this over the year, put them all in frames and stuff over the years and put them in frames. And I haven't been like a big collector of NFTs. It's been hard for me to get into it, but there's finally been one that I think I'm like starting to like, I've almost bought it, man. Because Nickelodeon has hit on OpenSea, and they've got Rugrats and Hey Arnold. Now, Rugrats wasn't really for me. I was a little too old for Rugrats, but for Hey Arnold, I did watch every episode of Hey Arnold, and man, I'm like right on the edge of buying one of these things. Because that's what I would buy. Like, you know, Rocko's Modern Life, that's Nickelodeon. Doug, that's Nickelodeon. But I swear, I've almost bought it. I think I might. How silly it is for a guy in his 30s that I might end up buying a Nickelodeon cartoon NFT. Anyway, I thought it was cool. I thought it was, you know, I like this idea, collectible stuff of nostalgia from your childhood outside of like buying monkeys and stuff, but rather getting stuff from like my childhood, right? If they came out with like The Simpsons, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'd do. Anyway, I thought that was cool to see that coming out here. Otherwise, on the news front, that's really it going on right now. Otherwise, the other thing going on today is partner of the channel, link to private investing made simple, where you can invest in companies prior to them going public. Lowered their minimum investment over here to $5,000 for Ripple and for Block Daemon. If you get both of them, you get $1,000 in savings to apply towards your next investment. I do use Link2. I am an investor over here on the Link2 platform. So through the rest of today, they've lowered the minimum investment here for those who have been like holding off on wanting to get into Ripple. It's been lowered to $5,000 for today. If you guys are unfamiliar with pre-IPO investing or private investing, essentially you're getting in and buying before it gets listed on the stock market. Now, of course, the SEC has their own rules on what it means to be accredited, so you can come over here and check Get Accredited to see if you can be accredited to invest in private equity. But even for those who are not accredited, I saw Crypto Eddie post this over there on Twitter. Aside from private equity offered at times for $5,000, like they are right now for Ripple, I use a link to CB Insights database for my research located on their website. They're producing excellent investor videos and research articles, which is not typically mainstream, which I was talking about last week. Is that even if you come over here and you're not accredited and you sign up, you can get market info sent to you for free. So you can check them out today if you've been holding or waiting on the fence to pick up Ripple, as they've reduced the minimum threshold over there to 5K. There's always a link to Link2 in the description of each of my videos where you can sign up and check out Link2. Otherwise, as for the news front, as for the charts have been very well behaved throughout the week. And as from the news front, it was kind of a pretty calm week in regards to, there's some stuff going out there with particular companies and whatnot, but no like contagion craziness that we've been experiencing. So it's nice to have that throughout this week. Otherwise, throughout the weekend, we'll look to see if Bitcoin can kind of maintain closing daily candles there above that $22,000 price level, and if Ethereum can stay within that range. So it's about a 10% swing in there for Ethereum. If we see some major break in either direction, I'll try to check in with you guys throughout the weekend. I'll do my best. Otherwise, if we stay within the range, then I'll catch you guys again on Monday. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a weekly candle close for Bitcoin above the 200-week moving average, which is there at about 22,700. Otherwise, I'll check in with you guys soon. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.